Hello, hello, hello. Good morning. It is 8 o'clock in the morning on the 15th of December 2022. We've got one day before OPEX. Here in about 30 minutes, we've got some jobs reports and things coming in. What I want to do is I want to take a look at the S&P 500 this morning. We took a look at Bitcoin yesterday, gave my opinion on that. And just to kind of keep things, level-headed, I just want to provide just a real simple update today. I'm not going to get into Elliott wave theory or anything like that. I just want to take a look at a pattern that we've got going on here. Before I get into all of this, as you know, this is not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. You're responsible for your own trades, managing your own risk, doing your own research. And it's just my opinion on the market. So let's go ahead and move on into the chart. Okay, so what we've got here is, of course, the S&P 500. I'm using the SPX 500 USD. CFD that's available. The chart is pretty clean here, and it does include almost 24/7 coverage. And with this pattern that we've got here, this is a broadening wedge. It's close to being a flat bottom. It's not quite there, but what we can definitely see here is we've got several touches, and I think this is important. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Really, we've got a second one down there, and then we've got one up here. So, to validate the pattern, you really need 2 touches. And we've got 3 up on top, and technically we've got 3 on bottom. I'm going to count that as just 2 on the bottom. Now, these patterns, what they tend to do, and I think this is important, they do tend to break down more often than not. We have an increased amount of volatility within the range, and the range expands, but it's been expanding to the upside. And why this is so important is, we've got this support down here on the bottom, which is clearly defined by this level right here, and we go all the way down to that area right there. So this is pretty important support for bulls. And so far, we've been staying above it. Now, there's not a trade here, just to be clear, not a trade that I see. What I can tell you is when we break down, then there's a trade opportunity. I want to talk about that. So really, what we have to pay attention to is this trend line is going to continue to move. Chances are we're not going to go back up here. If we do get back up here, right, for the 4th time, chances are pretty good we're going to break up. We're not going to break down. So if we do see the S&P 500 from down here find a way to get back up here, once we break this area, then yes, I do think that very, very high probability we go up. But we need to break this level right here. So again, we're right here in kind of like no man's land. There's not a clear trade to take at the moment that I can see right here. However, if we do continue a decline, and that's a big if we get below this trend line, then any back test of it is a clear shorting opportunity. And your next question is going to be, okay, well, that's great. I can short that, but where do I set my target? Okay. Well, there's a reason why I extended this upper trend line. All right. So just pay attention here for a moment. Wherever it breaks down, that's going to be the point that you need to measure. And so what I do is I use my Fibonacci tool, my Fib retracement, and I use it in very creative ways. So let's say that we break down right here. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, I'm going to move it up here, and that's going to be all the way up to the top of that trend line. And my target is going to be a range expansion. All right, so I'm going to do my range expansion. I need to actually, I'm going to flip-flop it. So let me do this. So if we break down right there, we're going to take it from the top all the way down here to the bottom where we break down. The important key here is, where do you break down? And we're going to be looking for a range expansion, which would take us down here to 3684. Now, this is as close to the actual index of SPX than really any other 24/7 market. Like ES is going to be a little off. Even if you were to use like ESH 2023, it's going to be off. But SPX 500 USD is pretty darn close. A range expansion would take us to 36.84. So it's actually a pretty clean trade to take. If we break down below that, right, you take your short position right here on the breakdown, and you're going to put a stop loss. If we get back up inside, you have to be careful because, it does happen that we go back inside the range before we break down further, but there is definitely a trade to take here, and that would take us down to 36.85. Now, I'm not talking about a move back to like new lows or anything like that. That certainly can happen, but this right here would take us down to, prices that we haven't seen since, all the way down here. So it would make sense that if we did go down there, that there would be a decent amount of support, because if I pull this out, you can see it's like right there. So we go and we test this, maybe we go just a little bit lower, and then we rebound, right? So this is kind of where we're at the moment. Again, what I'm paying attention to for right now is the pattern. I'm not paying attention to Elliott wave theory as much. Like, I'm certainly always paying attention to it, but for this purpose, I'm looking at the pattern, and the pattern is pretty clear for the moment. We have clear setups for when a trade can be taken and when a trade can be invalidated. For the upside, if we break up above this 41.41 level, well, then I do think it is higher probability we actually do go up to, 4,300. These patterns do tend to break down more often than they break up. Now, that doesn't mean that it is going to break down. There is no certainty in any of this, but the probability is that it is going to break down. But don't take the trade here. Wait until it actually happens. Wait until you get the confirmation before you decide to do anything. And again, this is just my opinion. I'm not taking a trade right here. I'm not doing anything like that. So just want to kind of get that out there. I've been looking at this pattern since yesterday. I didn't recognize it a couple days ago when we had this spike up here to 41.40. But now that it's here, it's a little clearer. And especially if we break down, it's going to be that much clearer. All right, guys. Hopefully this did help you. If it did help you in any way, shape, or form, you know the deal. Like, subscribe, share. I did want to keep it a little short today, keeping it under 10 minutes. If you need access to our Discord, our education, our trading room, where we do options, we do some equity when the time is right, you can find all that information on BitDoctor.org. If you want access to our Discord, there is a link in the video description. Feel free to join. We'd love to have you there. And last but not least, wherever you are in the world, I hope you're having a good day, good night, and a good evening. Take care, everyone.